So, hi everyone. So, I'm Nicolas Bacca, co-founder of CTO of Ledger. Today I will be hosting the Lightning panel because reasons. So, I hope I won't have a big picture of me in front of a nice piece of art, like right here, but well, we'll see after the panel. So, I guess I will try to make this interesting for the public by opening questions to the public after like 15 minutes, because I think we have something around 30 minutes, right? 20 if I can, okay, so maybe after 10 minutes. So let's start quickly by a quick, tour of the table, and let's see, let's let every speaker introduce themselves shortly.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Lightning Koala. I'm responsible for this.
I'm Fabrice Rouin, and you know me, I work on Lightning with async.
And I'm, is it what? Okay, cool. So I'm Christian Decker, I work for Blockstream, and I work on the Lightning specification and the C Lightning implementation.
Okay, thanks. So I think one interesting thing about Lightning is that unlike the main Bitcoin protocol, well, it all started with a set of specification and people writing different implementation based on that. So we noticed in the first talk that there might be some incompatibilities between different versions with failures to open channel and so on. So, but still the deployment has been pretty smooth in my opinion, since we see a lot of service live since the beginning. So in your experience, what's your personal experience regarding that, regarding compatibility between different clients and how things worked?
Yeah, so Satoshi's Place runs on C Lightning. It had a couple of problems in the beginning, and it crashed one night, and then I help Christian, quick, and then Rusty and Christian helped me fix the issues. We found 2 issues on the implementation, but yeah, generally it's pretty stable.
We had a few. Most of the big capacity problems have been taken care of on testnet. So we had sometimes issue because people don't often test things on testnet first, and very often we see people running the latest commits of different implementations directly on mainnet without testing first. So it's nice to be reckless, but sometimes you also need to check a bit. But all the compatibility issues we've seen were fixed pretty quickly. I don't think there are big ones yet. The biggest problem was really channels getting closed because of fee mismatch, and it's not really a compatibility issue. It's more an operational problem we didn't see before.
Yeah, it's been a really good experience, to be honest. I expected many more difficulties in getting this rolled out as quickly as we did, and I come sort of from a very conservative side, and I'm very scared of losing money, and that's also why we told everybody to put very little funds in there. But I'm surprised how little actually happened. And most of the issues that are currently happening are mainly when we change something in the spec and one version upgrades, or people are running the old version and the new version. I mean, we had this small issue of the synchronization between individual implementations, where one was using compression and the other one was not using compression, and I was like, basically, I don't know what you're saying, go away. But that's sort of solved now, and then we're basically just having a long tail of people updating and sort of getting out of these issues again. But yeah, as the specification is now relatively stable, we should get less and less of these incompatibilities.
Okay, so yeah, so things are pretty stable, I would say, right now. Then that's the general conclusion. I think also it's interesting to have Satoshi's Place on the panel, because it's probably one of the first services to enable a very new property of Lightning, which is to have micropayments with extremely small amounts. So do you see other services like that coming up, and what's your opinion on those new type of payment? What do you see happening that could only be done with Lightning?
Yeah, definitely. I see a lot of opportunities. Yeah, recently Nick Szabo like pointed out a paper he wrote about when you get to like really low payments, there's like this maybe like psychological barrier, like the psychological cost becomes like the limiting factor. So definitely like there's a lot to explore in micropayments, and Satoshi's Place sort of shows that it's possible to do that in the context of like a game, sort of like interactive experience. So there's that, but I think there's a lot to be explored in how we're going to create like metaphors and ways for us to utilize micropayments, but you know, either through a user interface or user experience that allows us to the same way you look at your electricity bill, you don't want to like look at things that are like 0.00001. Well, some of us do, but the majority of the people don't care about that. So I find that really interesting from a like user experience point of view. I think the opportunities are pretty endless. And also I want to say like the kind of atom back sort of Hashcash solution of like email spam. Well, now we have like a digital native currency, and so we can also explore sort of spam prevention through attributing a micropayment to content or something like that. So, you guys want to share?
Yeah, I totally agree that this is one of the key features that we have, is actually that we now enable these microscopic payments that were just not feasible in any payment system before. And I also agree that this brings a whole set of new challenges UX-wise with it. If one of my very close to heart projects is to sort of revolutionize content creation compensation, and there we have to sort of tackle how we actually go about displaying this to the user. There's nothing more anxiety-inducing than having a counter in your browser that ticks down the number of Satoshis you have. And you don't want to have to sign off on every single payment. If I go to the New York Times and want to read an article, I don't want to have to click every time that I read an article. So we sort of have to find a middle ground where we can automate payments and have safe limits that actually are such that users do not have strange surprises when they run out of funds, right? And so yeah, it's this very idea of extending the reach of Bitcoin to use cases that were not reachable before that I really like about this whole micropayment channel setup.
And also, I don't think that we should worry too much. I mean, the people building Lightning about use cases, because our job is to make good pipes for payments the best we can and get feedback from users and improve what needs to be improved. But we can't guess at what is going to be used and how it's going to be used, and things like Satoshi's Place, no one saw it coming, and it appeared like this. And I think we're trying to build the tools that other people can use to find new use cases. A lot of people are talking about gambling or games, but it will. Our job is probably not to think directly about the use case, but rather to provide tools so that other people can think about use cases and implement them and tell us, okay, this doesn't work, this should be improved. And I think that's how it's going to work. Yeah, that's what happened with Satoshi's Place.
I totally agree. I mean, we have here in the audience, we have people that have built amazing stuff. I've seen a hardware wallet working with Lightning. I've seen a Minecraft server working with Lightning. Unity games built using micropayments. There's so much cool stuff out there, and these are the people that are actually building this stuff. I couldn't have come up with a vast majority of these use cases. So our job is to create tools, do what you like, and if it's drawing penises on whiteboards, that's cool with me.
Careful what you wish for, because it's.
I'm still waiting for the first one to appear. Yes.
No, yeah, people behave because we provided a lot of warning before the talk. They don't want to see the stream shut down again. Yeah, right. So regarding tools, yeah, so to come back on that and UX, so we had a talk on the first day regarding what the UX could look like for Lightning Wallet, so making the channel opening and closing completely transparent to keep the user experience completely smooth. And regarding the APIs today, so would you say that there are enough API already for people to build everything they need? So did you run into difficulties to build Satoshi's Place? Or what do you think is missing today to enable people to create a Lightning service as fast as possible?
Maybe you should take that because you have the most experience with that.
In terms of wallets?
In terms of general Lightning usage, I would say, so either wallet or collecting payments or acting when receiving a payment, those kind of.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the tooling around the client implementations just to like build applications on top. So C Lightning has Lightning Charged, which I use. It's really good for if you're already used to like a JavaScript stacked environment, and it's pretty quick to get up and running. I would say maybe a bit more importantly right now is sort of like analytic tools on clients to see actually how much capacity you have inbound, how much you have outbound, how much have you routed, how much. Yeah, that's probably more, because actually building with Lightning now, it's actually really easy. I think it's.
Cool, yeah. I mean, going back to the talk we had yesterday about the UX, I totally agree that we should make it as seamless as possible and as good connect, and as similar to the Bitcoin user experience as possible. So there are still some tools in that direction missing. We need multipath payments, and we need good autopilot so that we can actually hide all of these technical details behind a usable user interface. I should not have to explain to users what a channel is. That's my ultimate goal. I don't want to ever expose those technical details to users in order for them to be able to use it. It should just be something that they download, that they run, and they can get started in a matter of minutes. Yeah, but when it comes to tooling, I mean, this is a two-way street, right? We can build tooling that we believe might be useful for users, but we also need feedback on what would be useful, and I mean more analytics is definitely good. Point that we can definitely extend and make it more accessible in that sense as well. But we need this feedback to know what the way is that we still need to go.
Yeah, yes, I agree. Right now we provide the bare minimum, and when people yell at us and say this is missing, we add it. But we try not to second guess what people may need in the future, and we try rather to build something that works, and when we're confident it works, then add something else. But doing too many things at the same time may not work very well. So right now it's more like if you need something, then tell us and we work on it. But we don't provide too many features right now because there may not be good options in long term.
Yeah, and also keep in mind we're small teams and we're working on disparate implementations. So your feature request might be hanging in an issue queue for a while, but we'll definitely address it at some point.
Okay, so we are about 10 minutes in, I think. So if we have some questions from the public, or if you tried, for example, to build something on Lightning or have some comments, well, it would be interesting to have your opinion. So let's open questions.
I'll relay your issues to our GitHub account. So.
Also that, yes. But since, yeah, you have the unique opportunity to ask questions in public, feel free.
Hello. So we just heard a talk about another routing scheme for Lightning. If we have several routing schemes, how do the implementations behave? Are they compatible? Are they not? How does that work?
So I think Fabrice addressed this very nicely, that as long as we stick to this source routing paradigm where we decide the route at the sending node, then you're basically free to use whatever you want to use to actually find the path from sender to recipient. There are a few ideas of creating alternative routing mechanisms that do not rely on source routing, and those might be a bit more difficult to test in the wild, but we can definitely try to take a look at them and see how they work.
For example, someone forks Eclair and builds an Android wallet that does not include routing at all. He removed everything that is related to routing and routing table synchronization, and he relies on a remote server to compute routes for the mobile node. So it's extremely fast. You don't have that to wait like those 25-30 seconds before it's ready. But then you need to trust a node that computes routes for you, that it finds actually the best routes, and you're not overpaying fees. So it has drawbacks, but it is something that is possible today. You can do this with the other implementations as well. You can just use something else to give you the route, and once you have it, you build the packets and you forward them. So there's a lot of freedom in how you find routes today in Lightning.
Well, we should also mention that the current routing algorithm is basically just our first and simplest iteration. It's just that this whole thing is so big that we decided to punt the whole routing issue for now until we have better solutions. And so yes, we will be iterating over the routing algorithms quite a lot over the coming versions, I guess.
Your wish was granted.
Was it? Nice. Yeah.
Hello. What's your opinion? How will the adoption of the Lightning Network affect the Bitcoin transaction fee market in the long term?
Do you want to?
I think it's really hard to tell. I don't think that Lightning transactions are stolen from the miners. If it's your question, I think Lightning is good for Bitcoin, so it's good for everyone. But it's a different system. It's really hard to tell now.
I think in the end we will have sort of an equilibrium between transactions moving off the chain, namely those that are simply not worthwhile doing on chain, and some transactions will always be on chain. I mean, we do have a good tool. We don't need to abandon the tool we have for this newfangled thing. And in the end, there will always be a certain value or a certain kind of use cases that is much easier or belongs on chain rather than moving it off chain. And so we will have this equilibrium where some parts move off the chain because the fees are too high, and if the fees get lower, then they will move on chain again. So it's much more that the Lightning Network channels aggregate fees for miners, and so they have to do less work for more value that they get from it, right? And the reason why we are happy to pay more on-chain fees is because we got more utility out of the individual channel.
So my question is about imagine a future where we finally get Cgash no inputs into Bitcoin, and then we can finally implement L2 with the great features that come out of it. What I'm fearing in the future is that when we will need to update, then all implementation will need to update as well. So I think the Lightning Network might get fragmented, or I don't see how a smooth transition can be done. And even more than L2, maybe in the future, if we have, for example, Schnorr-SIG, then somebody will see, okay, we can improve stuff again, and we will have the same problem where the Lightning Network may become fragmented. How do you think the transitions to those new protocol will happen?
So I don't think it's going to be a huge issue about fragmentation, specifically because most of the Lightning specification is between the two endpoints of that are participating in a channel. Very little is actually going over multiple hops, and the part that is going over multiple hops, namely HTLCs and the onion packet, those are more or less sorted out. There's not that much we need to change. If we at some point switch to Schnorr signatures instead of the HTLC pre-images, that might be more of an issue. But it's minimal enough that I see that we can support both for an extended period of time, so that we can have a smooth transition there. If we just update the mechanisms that are related to individual channels, I don't see much of a problem. I mean, I could connect to you and see, okay, you support the features that I want, and if you do, then we can talk. Otherwise, I'll go to somewhere else, and there will be nodes that act as bridges between these partitions. So I don't think there's a huge issue. We actually have feature bits, both global and local feature bits, that allow us to negotiate these features in the messaging layer already.
Okay, that's awesome.
And also, there are no forks in Lightning like you can have in Bitcoin. If there's a new upgrade to the protocol, your money is not stuck on the old chain, so you can just close your channels, you open new ones, and nothing is stuck as it could be if you had two different coins, because you have two new chains now. So upgrading should really be easy.
One of the things that is a really nice thing about L2 is that you don't have to deal with the storing all the old states and the punishments for those. But that has as a side effect that it's not possible to punish people anymore. You just make sure that the last thing happens, but you don't disincentivize fraud attempts. There has been some talk about layering that on top of L2, but that of course makes the whole watchtower thing more difficult again, because then you have the storage requirement again. Is there any sort of idea on how to solve that problem?
So I'm personally much more of a carrot person than a stick person. I don't like punishing people because they accidentally misbehaved, and it happened to me during our meetup in New York, that I restored a channel that I shouldn't have, and I was really sure that I took the snapshot after shutting down the node, and I was sitting there in the middle of basically the brightest minds in Bitcoin, and I was like, why are my funds gone? This is embarrassing. Oops. So I don't think that people. I think people put too much weight on being able to punish somebody who cheated, because that might also be you if you accidentally acted in a non-smart way. And I think that we actually do have a minimal punishment in L2 as well, in the form of the fee that you need to pay to publish what you believe to be the lost state. And I think if you're really malicious, then this small paper cut will eventually kill you, because it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's not beheading you once, but if you try and try again, then you will die by those attempts. So I don't think that punishments should be implemented on L2, but it's a possibility if people are hell bent on suffering.
Okay, so, well, that concludes our panel. So, thank you all.